Okay, hi everybody. I see a lot of people that I know on here. Miss Leon and doing the open house for the virtual classroom for fourth grade. So some of this stuff is the same and some of it's a little bit different. I'm gonna kind of pop through here as quickly as possible so everybody can go on about their awesome Monday night. Okay, this one's to work. All right, so I think you guys have heard this before. This is my 11th year teaching, my 5th year in Parkway. And all 5 of these years in Parkway, I've taught fourth grade, but primarily fourth grade is my wheelhouse. I have taught first and second, 5th grade, and also up at the high school level. The learning expectations for the kids, it seems like they've kind of caught on, but they need to be on time for class, which I suggest they start logging on at 8:25 in the morning. So that way, when they do log on, they're ready to go at 8:30. I always kind of tell them, if you're early, you're on time, and if you're on time, you're late. So we just have stuff we got to do, and we jump in right away. I have them make sure that they check their surroundings so that I can see them, and to make sure that everything going around them isn't like distracting or anything like that. I ask when they come onto the classroom that they mute their microphone, so that way they're able to hear me when I'm trying to give directions. And if your child does have headphones, I do really encourage for them to wear those headphones, especially if you have more than one child in the house trying to, learn, or if there's a lot of other background noise, it kind of makes that sound stay in their ear so they're not as distracted as easily. Kind of with the presentation also, I do like to be able to see them because I do find at times when they turn off their cameras, they're kind of just not there. I'll try to respond to them and I won't get much of a response. So I do ask that they turn their cameras on unless something is going on and they can let me know, or parents can let me know either way. So in participation, they are to be focused, pay attention, be an active participant. So I do randomly call on students to help me. So it's important that they are paying attention so that they can respond, and to chat responsibly. If they have a question, I typically ask them to put their blue hand up and they know what that means, or to type in the chat box and they can share ideas that way. And then at times I will invite them to go ahead and talk out loud, but it just reduces everybody talking on top of each other. So again, the learning expectations is when we got the new directions and attendance, it states, in order to be considered as present, your child must participate and be within Zoom meetings for half of the school day. So I've kind of started making it a practice, throughout the day, like beginning, middle, and end, and to do attendance just to make sure. I have like 28 kids in the classroom right now. So it's a bit different than when I had, 20 to 22, where I could see them all on one pane. I have to go back and forth between panes to see the kids. So it's important for them to be present and on time, to start logging in before we actually begin the call. And if you need more information about the school district's expectations for virtual learning, I do have that linked inside this presentation and also on my Schoology page. Lastly to that, we have GoGuardian. And when our students go onto sites that are not necessarily something that they should be on, our school district has purchased GoGuardian, kind of like a firewall that will flag that site and the student that's attached to that, and it sends it to the principal. At times, the principals will just contact the student and the teacher directly. Other times, they can also contact the parents to let them know what's happening inside their student's account. Attached here is our weekly schedule. The reason I wanted to highlight this is it is a bit different than it was a couple weeks ago. When we transitioned to having in-person and also virtual learning, the in-person students do not have the same schedule as the virtual students do. The whole timing of their day is different for the in-person kids. So for me to be able to make the required meetings for the district, I have to meet from 10:15 to 11:15. So because of that, we only meet twice a week. So on the days that I have to go to those meetings, I have the students doing their independent work from 10 to 11. So I'm moving that independent work time from the end of the day to 10 to 11 on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then I'm taking their math time and I'm pushing it back to that time that they would have been doing independent classwork. That way they are not missing any math instruction with me. I found that most people would probably prefer for their child to be getting direct help in math instruction from me as opposed to them just not having it at all for those 2 days. They would be in asynchronous learning, which means that they would just have activities to do on their own. So that was the rationale for moving that time to the math time to 2:15 to 3:15 on Tuesday and Wednesday. So just a heads up that your kids will be online with an adult until minimum 3:15 on Tuesday and Wednesday. Just some things that we've talked about before with live instruction. The whole group instruction is 15 minutes long. So that's why it is so imperative that your student be present and online on time, because I have 15 minutes to do that mini lesson for the kids. After that time, we move straight into asynchronous learning. That means students are either working independently with partners or small groups, and I come in to help them. So if they miss that mini lesson and I'm already with the group, it is going to be extremely difficult for me to get back to the student that was not present and on time and give them those directions. So again, it is so important that students be on time, because when they're working asynchronously, they will be having, their own activities to do, and then I will jump in and work with them when it is their time. Also, school does not end at 2:30. I have some students that have been logging off at 2:30 without saying goodbye or without warning. School does not end at 2:30. Typically, independent work time starts at 2:30 and goes to 3:30 on their own, but the school day does not technically end until 3:30. So like I said, on those Tuesdays and Wednesdays, they will definitely be online with me until minimum 3:15. The students do have 2 scheduled 15-minute breaks and then 1 hour lunch. I do encourage the students to step away from the computer during those breaks and also lunchtime. They should just turn off their cameras, they should mute their mics, go use the restroom, get a snack, a drink of water, jump up and down, run around outside, get all their wiggles out before we have to be back in class to learn. So some other questions that some of our adults have is, how much will I need to participate in my child's learning? That's really dependent upon your child and their level of independence. In the beginning, I'm sure that students needed more help, but as we're going, we're in week 11 of school, almost week 12, and so they really have kind of caught the hang of a lot of things. If you have any issues with the Chromebook or any of the technology devices from the district or connectivity, please contact the help desk at helpdesk at parkwayschools.net, 314-415-8181, and that's also on my Schoology page. And what if your child needs help or has trouble keeping up with assignments? Please contact me and let me know. I know that there's a lot to manage and a lot going on, so I'm happy to help and accommodate. Just kind of keep me in the loop and I will be glad to help. What if my child misses a live instructional lesson? So typically when we are doing live lessons, tied directly to curriculum, there will be a recorded lesson, and I put a link to that recorded lesson inside their student menu. I also try to upload these videos onto my Schoology page under materials by subject. So if it was a math lesson, I would upload it into the math subject. What supplies will my student need? They have the Chromebook. I really suggest having headphones. They have paper, pencil, crayons, the journals, composition books, notebook paper, any writing paper, glue sticks, scissors, and then the items and the bags that come from school. And then how will my child be graded? The grading is ongoing, and it's pretty similar to when we were in school. It's based upon the work that they're completing, and also when I am conferring with them independently and in small group, and I'm notating, the observations and what I'm noticing, their strengths, and what they're also working on. So the supply pickup and drop off, we had a supply pickup last week. So these are going to be continuous throughout the year. It's important to know these dates, and I will also put them in our weekly newsletters as they come up. The virtual learners will be receiving materials needed for the upcoming units, and they are dropping off items that they no longer need. So for example, in the exchange that we had recently, I asked for students to bring back the plastic books with plastic bags with books in it that we did for their just their book bag, and also the math manipulatives, the green blocks and the paper money. And then we gave them another bag of books as well as their math workbook and any other pages they needed for learning until November 30th. And when November 30th comes, we'll ask them to bring back their plastic book bag, and I will replace that with more books, and so on and so forth. So for parent communications, every week I send a newsletter via Blackboard or our Google email. Please watch for these newsletters for important information regarding our schedules, such as us working until 3:15 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, any days off that we have, supply exchanges, etc. I always put these into our parent newsletters. So, and I try to keep it pretty brief. So look for those just to find any important information for the upcoming week. And then for Schoology, I was going to go ahead and pop into Schoology really quick to kind of maneuver around that. All right, so this is my Schoology page. And if you notice, there's just kind of like a grid, if you will, of buttons. And then down below, they have some of those same buttons listed underneath. I find that a Schoology isn't acting like it should. If you scroll down here toward the bottom, it's easier to get into those folders. But in this folder right here, it just has my contact information, my email, the phone number to get a hold of me, any office hours, things you need to know to get a hold of me. The class schedule is in this button. The students know that when they come inside this page, they're able to go to these buttons to go to their specials classes. If they go to Miss Hall, if they receive reading support services, I will be updating the daily schedule. And then when they get out of their specials classes, they can go ahead and click this button that links them back to my Zoom page. The next button is student menus. Every student knows about their student menus. This is what they work off of every day. It is their map. So they go to student menus. We are in week 11. Students click on this menu. And within the student menu, they will find what we are working on in each subject and what their independent work is at the end of the day. So it's really important that if a student is late coming into class, that they have this student menu up really all day long. And this will help guide them on what they should be doing in class or what we are working on. The next part of my Schoology page is the materials by subject button. So when I come in here, you will see all the different subjects. I'll use math as an example. We are going to be going into multiplication. So I go into that unit for multiplication, and then I put vocabulary up. I put the videos that I record for these lessons inside the folders, and I also upload any of the notes that I use with the kids here. So if you're ever needing maybe some insight as to how the material is being taught or what that looks like on paper, you definitely have access to it there in the materials by subject button. This is our virtual meetings button, the student resources button. So under student resources, all students will access whatever apps we use through Clever. You can go to Clever by linking here, but I have put all of these items that we work with as just an example right here. You can't click on them because you will have to go straight to Clever. Next is the parent newsletters. If for some reason you are not able to get into your parent newsletter through the email, you will come into these folders and you will find your parent newsletters in here. So yesterday I sent out a newsletter, and you can find it underneath the November newsletter tab. Right here is a link to our Google Classroom, and right there it gives the code for that Google Classroom. That's important for the kids if they need it or for some reason it gets taken off their login and their credentials. Right here it says welcome to 4th grade. This is the button that you will go to find all the information about Parkway's virtual learning handbook. I'll put a recorded version of this open house underneath this part, but there's all and even like information on how to get to the help desk inside this button. And then 2 other buttons just to look at. The kids really like to know about the shining shout outs. So if your student wants to just report that one of their friends is doing a great job, they could click here. Or we have the counselor's corner. The kids can also click in this button and then request to see one of the counselors if they need it. So that is pretty much what we have on the Schoology page that your kids work in. Other things that I'll quickly talk about. The next 9 weeks, we will be working on reading nonfiction books, the skills and text structures. Our writing unit will be persuasive writing called Boxes and Bullets. In math, we will be working on multiplication. We'll do 4 digits, a 4-digit number times a 1-digit number. So like 1,482 times 5. Or we'll be doing 2-digit by 2-digit numbers. So like 36 times 52. Social studies, we'll be working on the colonial period. In social emotional, we continue to work on empathy and skills for learning. And in science, we'll move to energy conversions. Our reading instruction, the curriculum is Lucy Calkins, and we do online reading practice with getepic.com. That's just a site where kids can get online books. And we also have the book bags. So it's important that as your students use those the books in the book bags, that they return them back to the plastic bag. So that way it's all in one place when you need to do the supply exchange. Our curriculum for math is called Envisions, and the online practice that we use is called zern.org. Within Envisions, we do some of our work on the workbook pages, and we also use quick checks. Those quick checks I use just to see how kids are doing with the material that we're working with. It's not for a grade, but I do use that to determine how they're doing so I can help them as we learn more of the objectives through the unit. Zern is the online math program that I use, and it's differentiated based on students' needs. There are four parts to each level, and I think it just updated its site so that kids can see where they are in each level, but it's important for them to complete all four parts so that they go to the next level. What's awesome about it is that if a student is struggling on a skill, the program will stop and it will give them tutorials to help them get through the level. They just have to kind of slow down and read through it to get that help. I do also recommend that the kids use paper and pencil to work through some of those problems because it is math and they just can't do it all in their head sometimes. With writing, we use Lucy Calkins. That's the curriculum. And I also have the kids do typing.com and Quill. Reason being for typing.com, the kids will be utilizing this computer pretty much 90 to 100% of the time for virtual learning. So it's important that they learn how to keyboard correctly. When they're typing papers, it's really hard to get through a paper if you're using your fingers. I call it the hokey pokey. Instead, they need to use proper keyboarding like playing a piano. So I have them learn how to do the keyboarding. I don't expect it to be perfect or fast, but I do ask them to continue to practice using the home row keys and use proper just keyboarding etiquette and fingerings on the keyboard. Quill.org is what we use for grammar. It helps them with their capitalization, their punctuation, and other sort of skills like that with their grammar. And sometimes the kids get frustrated because they'll say, well, it said I didn't have the correct punctuation. And that means sometimes they forgot a period or a comma or apostrophe. But it's really nice in the way that it does stop the kids and it helps them through writing complete sentences. And that's it. So that's all that I have for my portion of this. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and stop